Hello, my name is Misty Tobin, and I am doing a summary of an article titled Remote Workers Alter State Taxes. It's written by Gary Wallace, and I found it on CFO.com. So the pandemic has forced many employees to work from home. It wasn't always in the part of the plan, but it is something that a lot of people had to do for 2020. But their home is not always the same state as the place that they would normally be working. So this can cause an unusual burden for corporations. Many concerns have risen for managers as the pandemic has forced them to send their employees home to work. One of them that has been overlooked until possibly recently is how will this change the income tax burden for these employers and their employees? So policies are changing rapidly, and many new states are issuing guidance regarding the pandemic and remote working and how the people will be taxed in each state. It can be challenging to keep up with all of these changes for every state that any employee might be working in. So there are 5 steps that managers can take to mitigate these issues now and in the future if they have employees that are working remotely. The first one is to ask every single employee that is working remotely the location they are working from. If that location changes, the employer needs to be notified. Is the employee working from their primary residence, which would be on file with their employer, or have they gone to stay with a family friend or maybe a vacation home? Number 2, monitor the guidance from the states that they have employees working in. Many states have issued new information, and they continue to issue new information about how remote workers will be taxed if work is performed in their particular state. Some states have a number of days that must be worked in their state for an employee to be considered working in the state, and others have rules about whether it's for convenience of the employer or just the convenience of the employee. 3, managers need to become familiar with tax rules and existing reciprocity agreements. When employees work in different states than the one the business is located in, it can create a positive tax effect or a negative one. In some states, they don't charge a personal income tax like Texas or Florida, but in other states, employees can end up paying double taxes if they don't report correctly. Several states have reciprocity agreements with each other. If they're nearby or they have shared borders, managers need to be familiar with any of these agreements that apply to their employees. 4, you need to research business tax nexus thresholds. Managers need to find out the information about the applicable state business thresholds. Some states recognize business being conducted in their state when any employee performs any work inside their state boundaries. If a manager has an employee working in such a state, they must become educated about the regulations and record-keeping requirements for that state. Lastly, review current insurance coverage for employees. Managers need to find out what their insurance policies that they have in place will cover and what they will not. They need to make sure that their employees are covered if there is an accident or a problem, even if they are working in a different location than they originally had been working. Employees and employers need to make sure they have coverage for every situation. In conclusion, remote work may be more permanent than we ever imagined. As COVID becomes less of a threat, companies must decide whether they want to keep all or part of their workforce remote. If keeping any employees working remotely is a possible permanent option, these are steps that can help get the information necessary and smoothly comply with all states involved. Thank you.